Friends of the Earth has brought this case because Canadians determined that we must act to meet the Kyoto targets through a law of the country called the Kyoto Protocol Implementation Act. The current government has ignored the requirements of this act. Friends of the Earth believes our government must be held accountable to the will of the people on climate action, which is probably the most important issue we face globally.
The case from our perspective is one that's simple. There is an act of Parliament that has not been complied with by the government, and we are attempting to have the court require the Minister of the Environment, John Baird, to do what the will of Parliament has said he ought to do.
And you think that this is a realistic goal?
We believe it's very realistic to expect our government to enforce the law of the land, which requires a plan. It requires political will to be exerted in favor of all of the things we can do, rather than what we've seen the last many years actually, but in particular the last two, stating all the things we can't do.
We have simply waited for time frame number 1 to go past, 60 days. The minister had to file a climate change plan. That plan was not one that was in conformity with the statute. And so we then brought an application. And after 120 days after the act was passed in Parliament on June the 22nd, 2007, another step had to be taken, and that wasn't done. And then after 180 days, something else was to be done, and that wasn't done.
We are looking for a productive, powerful plan that would lead us into the best we can do as Canadians to combat climate change. And clearly that is not what the current government has provided in their Turning the Corner plan.
A lot of critics say that there's absolutely no way Canada can meet its Kyoto target. I mean, at this point, what are you looking for?
We're looking for someone to comply with the will of Parliament. This case is about the rule of law. Parliament has passed an act saying that the Minister of the Environment needs to do something within a certain time frame. He needs to bring in a climate change plan that does conform to Kyoto. And he hasn't done it. So it's a defiance of the will of Parliament.
A lot of people, though, as I asked the lawyers, say that it's just not feasible. It would lead to economic ruin, economic collapse. I mean, how do we balance that?
That's not what this case is about. This case is about we have a law. The law must be enforced. As law-abiding citizens, Canadians expect laws to be enforced. This law was passed almost a year ago to the date. We have seen nothing that makes us think there's any intention by this government to comply with that law. This case is very narrow. It's about democracy. We find it's extremely powerful to us to talk about the need to act to protect the planet and Canadian democracy.
Statute gets passed, requires you as a reporter to do something. And if you don't do it, you're going to have some consequences for that. Why should it be different for the Minister of the Crown?
This is the right time for us to be holding the government accountable for what Canadians need to do at home and globally, but this particular case today is about at home.
So now, you're all doing this pro bono, that's right?
Yes,
so why did you think it was important for you to tackle?
Because I have children.
We believe it's precedent setting in terms of the first time in the world that a country is being held accountable for its lack of compliance on Kyoto. In this case, though, it's domestic law, and I'm proud to say that Canadians have a domestic law on Kyoto. And so since we have that law, we've had it now for a year, we expect to see Canadian action on it, and that is what this case hopefully will produce.
The rule of law is the cornerstone of the democracy in which we live, and you can't, as a Minister of the Crown, defy it.
I think I'll go in there.
Thank you.
Good luck, Beatrice.
Thank you. I think we had the kind of day we wanted. I think we have the accountability session that Canadians deserve, and we're going to have to wait and hear the judge's determination on this.